No. Seems to be a trend to plant them beans early now.
Yeah. Well, it's 9 a.m. I'll call the May 13th meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. Our first item is approving the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
No second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Kiefer, to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Public comment. Anyone listening on the phone who'd like to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, review and action regarding the approval of the May 6, 2024 minutes.
I only saw one small typo. It's supposed to be radio tower, and I think it said radio with an N at the end of the radio.
I can just make that.
Yeah, other than that, I didn't see anything, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
No second.
Have a motion from Supervisor Jorgensen and seconded by Supervisor Kiefer to approve the minutes as corrected by the May 6th Board of Supervisors meeting. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Review and action regarding approval of the claims.
I don't have anything. I had one that kind of stuck out as tort liability insurance for those for $3,500, I think.
85 or
85. Okay.
That's the cybersecurity.
Cyber.
oh,
Okay.
That went into effect. That was the one we talked about. We want to get that. Or got the.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the claims as presented. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 5, updates on boards, commissions, and activities since our last meeting.
I attended Floyd County Conservation meeting on May 7th. I unfortunately arrived a little late, but I did get there and they filled me in on what I missed. There was a landowner citizen present, had a boundary discrepancy. Sounds like it's being going through the process and the survey, and county attorney is dealing with it also.
That's like Howell area.
Yeah, it is resolved. Okay, except for the payment of the survey.
Well, that.
It's resolved except for that. So they're working on grant for river system improvements. Winnebago Coalition Management will hopefully get started. They want to do a management system for that. That's probably a year out. If anybody wants to volunteer, they're looking for volunteers to help plant trees and other things. I think it was in the packet. Losi family wanted to buy 11 acres, and the Conservation Commission, for many reasons, declined that. Playground pieces are delivered, and hoping to get them set up, and wind turbines were discussed and possible recommendations coming to the planning and zoning. And it was Ann Folz's last meeting. So that's all I had.
I attended Chambers Main Street meeting, and there was quite a bit of discussion regarding Main Street and the construction redoing the Main Street. And also their next coffee and conversation will be May 23rd in the Zastro room at the library. So, first party in the park, I think, is this coming Friday too.
Coming right up.
Yeah, so that's all I had.
Okay, I attended and participated in a department head meeting with the county elected officials and department heads. Item 6, updates on Law Enforcement Center Courthouse project. Progress report, review action regarding possible change order 153. It's in your packet. There's a bid from Young Plumbing and Heating for $2,459 to install these diffusers in the boardroom ductwork. That's what the change orders about. But they're yet to do this, is that correct?
Yeah, it hasn't been done yet. It's gonna be up there, above the windows. Roy and I may go out and try to get another bid to see if we can have it done for less money. I don't know if we can or not, but I'll check on that with Mick Gage and Mills, see if they can do it.
So in that case, we wouldn't take any action on this today.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, Bill Huey, I believe, is on the phone. I don't know if Bill would like to unmute himself and mention anything about it, if he has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, good morning, Gloria.
Good morning. How are you, Bill?
Fine, long time. Yeah, we took a look at that when that originally came in and had Mike Romanek in our office take a look at that. And at first they thought that maybe this unit was oversized. That is not the case. Had some back and forth with Jason. And I think he was talking with Young Plumbing. And we had made some additional suggestions for them to take a look at, and Young had already concluded that they had done several of those suggested operations. It was basically at a point where we more or less had exhausted our research to what was causing the noise issue from our end. So I just turned it back over to Jason and their group. We couldn't find anything that was, really standing out as a cause for that noise issue.
I see this doesn't have anything about closing up the duct that's here, that where we're getting all the noise from. So I don't know that it's even conclusive.
No, what's interesting is that it never quits running. It runs continuously. And why is that? I mean, that's what I'd like to know.
It does seem odd that
Yeah, it never shuts off.
thermostat of some type to,
So is there anything to do on this if we're gonna get another bid to look at this situation, and Bill has exhausted all his research? Is there anything to do on this agenda?
Okay, so you said that the fan runs continuously, never stops.
correct.
Okay,
Is that an air exchange thing?
I'm not sure that we were notified of that previously.
And we have to replace belts on it. Several times the belt has been replaced on it.
Okay,
Mark, to answer your question, I don't think there's anything we can do today.
All right,
Correct? Would you agree with that, Maria?
I think that Bill, can your people work with us a little more on that and see what?
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
we'll look forward to that.
okay.
We're moving, anything else on this?
Not on that one, but just on updates.
No.
Bill, you had emailed me and I emailed you back about updates on the project. And I'm just gonna pick on Travis here once. Do you know, is anything done with third and fourth floor, holding cells? Has been any of that work been completed on those doors? Do you know the status of that?
I do not.
Okay,
The doors haven't been painted, the locks, or plumbing. It's been as it was 5-6 months ago.
It's in that bowling area, Travis, is that correct?
third and fourth floor.
Third and fourth floor.
Third and fourth floor.
Yeah, that's where Noah is taking over for sweeper, but there was I thought parts were here. And then it was a I wasn't sure if the parts did come, they were supposed to come, whether they came, and it's a communication innovators deal.
Would that be a question for Pat?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know what that was
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah, all I've ever heard from Jason was that through Noah, I think the order was placed. I don't know that it was ever delivered.
Okay.
All right, item 7, updates on the communications tower project. A, review and action regarding Motorola Solutions invoice for equipment and charger.
Mark, back on that one, you missed B. on that.
6B.
Note payment, I didn't think because we weren't paying anything, there wasn't gonna be anything.
No, this is different.
Oh, I see.
This is,
All right, then.
Samuel's group applied for an energy deduction
Oh, that's what that
credit.
meant, okay.
So I just wanted to make
I
you
see.
aware that we received $18,900 back on that credit
All right,
deduction.
that was the letter that was sent back in January.
That was the application for it in January. We just got the check last week,
Okay,
May 2nd, or well, the
It's
dated check.
unusual to get a check, so.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd bring it up.
all right, we'll so note the energy deduction for work done regarding the, what was it, the Energy Policy Act of 2005 gave them a tax deduction, so noted. Item 7, review action regarding Motorola Solutions invoice for equipment. I know you've been working about this. This is a $889,300 original invoice. Using the bond proceeds. Now this is cleared up. I know there's been, you commented that there's been some questions on these different change orders in the past, but this is correct. Is that right?
Yeah, we got they sent the new invoice. Yeah, it was, I had even sent them the credit that we have. They couldn't figure out where the credit came from, but this is all cleared up now. This is what is due, and so I'm just looking for you to just pay, and we'll do
All
the
right.
bond proceeds to pay for this one.
Is there a motion to approve the invoice for $889,300 from Motorola Solutions?
Also move.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the $889,300 invoice from Motorola Solutions. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item B, review and action regarding interest on the general obligation bond using bond proceeds.
So this is our bond payment is due. That's the one that says UMB on it.
Okay,
And that is, when we talked about doing this originally, we talked about using the bond proceeds to make that interest payment, since we weren't able to, we'd already did our budgets and we weren't able to levy anything for it. And so that's what this $167,186.88 is. We run that in the next claim for the project funds, as well as the Motorola one for payment. I just wanted it formally that you're okay with doing that.
all right.
Yep, I'm okay. I'll make a motion to approve the action regarding interest on the general application bonds using bond proceeds $167,186.88.
Second.
Yes, there's a motion made by Supervisor Tabor and seconded by Jorgensen to approve the interest on general obligation bonds of $167,186.88. Those in favor of the motions, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Item C, review action regarding bids for Charles City Hall server room cooling unit. This is the one, okay, the one that John Gore wrote a letter about, had a couple of different bids for cooling that server room down. The bids in here, there's a couple of them. John has actually referenced the 2-ton bid from Mtg. He says due to all the extra heat that will be generated in that room with all the extra equipment. The other bid was received from Mills and doesn't say the tonnage of that unit, but it's $7,600 per stack.
And are you on the phone, John? Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
That one for Mills was also a 2-ton,
Okay.
which was quite considerably higher for 7,600.
Yeah, I
And
see
I was
that.
recommended, when I talked to Mick from Mtg, he thought with all that extra heat, a 1-ton might not be enough to keep the room cool or make it real hard on that 1-ton unit. That could make the lifespan shorter. So
Kind of looks like their bids are only $400 for more for the 2-ton unit, so probably a good idea.
correct. I was recommending the 2-ton unit.
All right.
$6,295.
Yes.
And then there's some wiring that will need to be, some 220 wiring that will have to be installed, but Travis happened to be in on a call last week with Motorola. And they're going to, rather than have John get a quote for an electrician to do the 220, Motorola said the same electrician could do the work that they're doing anyway, but it will be an extra cost on that at that time.
Understood.
But it's just the same electrician could do the work rather than getting a second quote.
Talking about the bridge at one call, is that what they're talking about? A bridge for the electrical wire or am I confusing that with something else?
The bridge outside is for the current tower. There'd be some electrical inside the building that would get to that tower, but then there's electrical to get to this cooling unit. So when the electrician's running all that, they'll do a both project at the same time rather than have a second independent contractor come just do that way.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the bid for Charles City Hall server room cooling unit using bond proceeds.
You could just clarify saying option 2 from the gauge.
Okay, option 2 from the.
Second.
Yes, we have a motion by Supervisor Teever, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the option 2 bid from Mtg for the 2-ton unit at $6,295. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstract. This is an abstract on the Stephen Slater property for the communications tower from Iowa Title and Real Company for $613.
So the abstract was the last piece that we needed in order to pay Schlater. So I'm kind of looking for, maybe should have made it 2 different motions, but just a motion to approve payment to Iowa Title and Realty for the abstract work and to approve the $70,000 payment to Stephen Schlater
It will make those into one.
and to use bond proceeds for both of those.
Make a motion to approve the invoice of $613 payable to Iowa Title and Realty Company. And also approve, the payment to Steve Schlater for $70,000 for the property using bond proceeds.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Kiefer, to approve the abstract cost of $613 for the Stephen Schlater property and approve $70,000 payment to Mr. Schlater for the property. Further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8, review and action regarding the invoice from Allers and Cooney. Had a couple of invoices in there that were the normal and customary, and Auditor Carr and I talked this morning, we don't quite understand the $450 claim that they put on here. The first two were the county share of services, and they amount to the $90.03 and $148 for legal fees. But also in the packet it states a prior unpaid balance of $350. Well, you look down when you see that spreadsheet, we received $350 refund from Allers and Cooney earlier this year after we negotiated that. And so we're going to contact them because we don't think this is, somebody missed that. We don't owe $450. So we need a motion to approve the two payment for services and just leave that fourth one, yes.
Pay the $148 on that invoice only, and
Yeah,
you wanna give Tim a call, or me give Tim a call, or?
but yeah, go ahead afterwards if you would. I think it might be in our bookkeeping department. I don't understand.
Where do those funds come out of?
Well, that's a good question too. I've got I'm planning on taking them out of ARPA. But that'll be another agenda item down here with our budget amendment, to clarify how that is fitting, but I would take with ARPA dollars.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the payment of $148 to Dealers and Cooney,
And
pipeline right away, and the $90.03.
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, second by Jorgensen to pay invoices from $90.03 and $148 for services provided by Allers and Cooney from the ARPA funds. Other discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9, review and action regarding the fiscal agreement for the Floyd Mitchell Chickasaw Early Childhood Iowa. As you know, we're the fiscal agent, and the board met here last April, and they got the funds of $387,202. And that's for a school-ready service program, and a second grant of state funds of $85,462 for early childhood program. And in your packet is the 9-page agreement to that effect.
How is that money distributed? Do we do it, Floyd County?
yes, we're the fiscal agent for Early Childhood Iowa, so they'll do a budget to spend all of that money. Lori and I are actually working on that on Friday this week. And then July 1, they'll start using those funds. The state makes quarterly payments to us before the money is spent. And then there's some carryover that's allowed.
So it doesn't cost the county anything.
Oh,
It's
we make,
Yeah, it's,
we make money.
yeah, we are being the fiscal agent, we take share of that. It's all state funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve, fiscal agent agreement fiscal year 2025 for Floyd Mitchell, Chickasaw, early childhood area development in Floyd County.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion made by Supervisor Jorgensen to approve the fiscal agent agreement for fiscal year 25 for FMC Early Childhood Iowa. It's been seconded by Supervisor Kiefer. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried. Another liquor license, review and action regarding liquor license renewal for Rusty Acres. All the information is provided timely and,
Yeah, everything was good on this one,
All right.
it's a renewal.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license renewal for Rustic Acres LLC.
Second.
all right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the Rusty Acres LLC liquor license renewal application. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 11, review action regarding GASB 96 subscription-based information technology agreements policy.
Elizabeth was here last Monday, to work on, this, they requested an extension for the fiscal year 23 audit. And so she, came in last week to kind of wrap up some stuff. And this is a new GASB rule that needs to be put into place. She provided me with, Cerro Gordo counties. So it mimics Cerro Gordo counties with a $100,000 threshold that were to require additional for this subscription-based information technology, new criteria with GASB. So I asked her for some examples of where this might come into play, like for example, with Solutions. Their system that we use, their licensing and software that we use. And she said, she don't have to worry about that because it is an annual thing. So if you notice in the verbiage in here, part here, it has to be annual payments. And, or it can't be, if you, so I asked her about, what about the Motorola electronic engineering contract that was just approved last week for 18 months, because that went over a year. But I had told her that 911 is paying for that, and she said wouldn't even touch the books because 911 is paying for it, not the county general fund, and it's under $100,000. So it's not very likely that we would even have anything that would hit this, but we have to have a policy according to the new government
Okay.
kind of standard board.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the GASB 96 subscription-based information technology agreement policy.
I'll second.
There's a motion made by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer, to approve the GASB 96 subscription-based information technology agreement. Further discussion? Well, at least I know a little bit about it. Thank you.
About as much as I know.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. No personnel changes. In your packet, there was several personnel changes listed. Terry Bodkey submitted her resignation. She's accepted a position as the Floyd County jailer. She'll be moving on to be a dispatcher in Hancock County. And her notice of 2-week notice is put in your packet, as well as County Attorney Pritchard noted in an email to Auditor Carr that Aaron Meyer's last day in the office as an employee was Friday, May 3rd of 2024. Are there other personnel changes?
That is all that I
All
know.
right. Item 13, review fiscal year 24 county budget amendment items. Bring them there, Glenn.
so that, I sent you this morning,
Oh,
the
okay, I see
packet.
now.
It's the second attachment.
Got it. Thank you.
I think the,
This one didn't bring it through.
you get this,
The last one I got from you was on the 10th.
nothing today?
Just 8:35 a.m.
Nothing today?
Wow, they got it.
8:35 a.m.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so this one is, yeah, I usually try to find revenues to offset expenses. You know, if we've got revenues that have come in that weren't necessarily planned for on the budget process. And this one is kind of unique because from what I received, but primarily a lot of revenues, well, interest is a primarily, $800,000 we're increasing interest, on revenues. And then most of the other ones are ones that, there's a bunch of them that are from secondary roads that Jacob provided. Well, I'll just start there. This sheet might be the easiest thing to look at. That's a second page on the
Alright.
document. That lists it out, you can read what it is. So the first one is, the amendment part is $225,000 that Jacob is increasing local option sales tax. And then the next one, I've added the hospital reimbursement. The $50,000 that wasn't in the original budget for the hospital to pay the county. The next one, yeah, well, that, I guess I didn't put an explanation there. That's clerk of court. We've received additional revenues from the clerk of court, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and put that in there, just because I have expenses below to offset some of that. So I put, that department 06 is clerk of court on there. The next ones under licenses and permits are, again, Jacob's. He's got, 16,000 in,
sorry, excuse me.
he's got 16,000 in trip permits, and he's got 14,000 in those oversized permits, on there. And, use of money, the next item, that's the $800,000 that you see there. That's when we originally, interest rates were low, when we were doing this budget at the time, and rates have increased. This is a number that I got from Jesse when we were doing the budget, fiscal year 25 budget. It's a number that we plugged in for fiscal year 24 re-estimates. So I put that one in there. The next one are Department 28. And when I say those departments, that's the first set of numbers, the last number, and then Department 20-28 is medical examiner. And because we've got medical examiner expenses, I put a medical examiner revenue there. This is, we're getting checks now that we never used to get for the cremation permits that Dr. Schroeder has to approve. So I've added that because we're getting several of those checks now. And then Department 51, the $112,276, that is, the 18,900 is in there for the money that we just talked about on the energy deduction payment that we received. And then the rest of that is what DA services paid for the project work before they moved over here. They agreed to pay the county for updating that building. So that was a $97,000 check that we got from them. The two checks that we received from Ehlers and Cooney, we received a $901.40 check back in January, I think, and then $350 check that we just talked about. That's the 1251. That's in here because we need to add that back. We need to add that to our revenue and then spend it in the expenditures, so it zeroes out in the end. with the revenues and expenses in that fund. That's a standalone fund, so I want that to be, not show expenses more than revenues. And this just kind of reminds us that we have to spend that 1251 on the projects as well. Let's see. Oh, the 14,000, that's, I don't know why I didn't put clerk of court on there, but that's more revenue that we received from clerk of court that was above and beyond what we expected. And again, because I have a little bit of expenses below, I thought I'd put that in, that revenue in there. We've got some work. This is another balancing kind of thing for the department. We have work comp revenue that was received from EMC for work comp injury for an employee with the collection site. And again, we've got expenses down below, so I want that revenue to offset that. The rest are all a line item revenues that Jacob wanted put in the budget as well for several different items there. So our total revenues is 1,359,304. And then we get into the expenses, and the county attorney, I've adjusted for the wages so that the line items look correct. Again, when he was hired, when we did this budget, the budget was already done before he was hired. So this just puts the full salary that Rachel received back down to the part-time salary that Todd receives. And then the negative 2,355 is Randy. We had that he was going to get that increase July 1 this year, but didn't get the increase, so I put that in there. And then I added the part-time assistant before Callie left. This is what had been paid out for her wages, so just to offset that it's expensive a little bit. The sheriff's forfeiture fund, that has gone into a negative balance, right? The fund isn't negative, the budget is negative, so this just brings that budget to where it needs to be to cover the expenses that are there. Department 6 is the $2,000. We have additional expenses on, that's clerk of court again. Again, I put revenues on top that more than offset this expense. Department 28 is, all those things are just line items now for a medical examiner that since we have they're employees of the county now, it's just kind of putting those codes where they need to be for that service. And then the Department 51, this I put in there just because I want the budget to reflect correctly. And I've got an email to Myrtle at NIACOG on this. It looks like they billed us too much. So this is, we'll see what she says. I don't know if they'll net that in next year's payment or what will happen, or if I asked her if I missed any kind of an update on what they were charging, but I want the budget to reflect what it should be, which originally they had $13,439, and then they adjusted their rate and brought it down. So we should have paid $12,658, but we ended up paying $12,814. That was just kind of, so I remember, make sure that Myrtle knows what's going on there. And then the 146,121 is the 3 sheriff's Tahoes and $24,000 in upfits on those Tahoes. That's making that line item. So what happened with all those ARPA dollars, not necessarily knowing where we were going to spend them, I just put them in a line item, and now we're just putting them where they should be in line items. So it's the only net you're gonna see in all those ARPA dollars is the $1,251 that came in as payments back from the Ehlers Cooney thing, to put that back in there. Just because the line item for that TESH abatement issue, it's a negative line item, so I thought I'd just put that in there as well, just to make a clean line item on that. The next one is Oh, foster grandparents. Originally foster grandparents had, for the prior year, $1,000 was budgeted, but then we agreed to pay them $2,500. And the $1,000 was paid in the previous fiscal year, but the 1,500, or excuse me. I guess to make sure I got this one right. Yeah, 1,500 was paid, but
Thank you.
we have 2,500 obligated for this year, but I just wanted to increase that line item because we're making up from last year's payment that we paid in this year. So just a line item correction to put that in there for that one time, additional 2-year payment. Last one on there, on that page is the weed commissioner. This is just transitioning, insurance costs, different plans when we changed weed commissioners from Adam to Tim Lobby. We've got just a little extra in insurance. This is just rural services. I wanted that fund to look correct as well. And then the line item, top line item on the next page, the $251, they had additional costs for training. So that was put in there. The $9,000 is collection site. This is help to fill in from when there was a work comp claim, and then as well as there's an FMLA as well that needs covered on here. The next one, I gotta talk to Elizabeth and see what needs to be done with this. I have the correct amount that was supposed to be paid to the airport authority. I have that in the budget, but in the sheet that I provided to Lexi with all those vendors that we pay money to, we paid, prior year, we paid $34,858, but then our levy rates went down. And I didn't update it on this sheet to her, so I'm gonna talk to Elizabeth and see, do we need to collect that back from the airport? Do we net it from next year's payment, or
How much is it?
$1,290?
I'll be going to their meeting this week.
I'll try to catch up with Elizabeth, if you catch up with me before you go to your meeting, and we'll
Okay.
see if we have, or if you all want to let them have it. I know they had a lot of expenses with the drainage stuff that hit them kind of hard, but I don't know what the protocol would be for that. The next one is just we got a new passport camera, and it costs a little more than what, with all the printer and supplies and stuff, costs us a little bit more than planned, and just because in my budget, that's, that second set of numbers, the 08119 in the code is a standalone code in my budget, so I want to make that code a good line item. My overall budget's fine. Then under administration, we've got several line items with the Board of Supervisors, primarily because of the additional mailing, envelopes, paper, postage on there to do that budget mailing, the first notice that was required with the county, city, and school budget information. That's on there. And then our board, the cost of our board meeting, where it says board proceedings there, I've upped that because we're exceeding that 16,000. However, again, how I like to offset things, because you don't have insurance costs that we originally budgeted for, I'm reducing that insurance cost out of there. So your net effect of your budget is a lower budget overall. And then Department 10 is the one that's really kind of being shaken up with some of the cost of the project and ongoing maintenance costs and things like that. And John and Cody doing a lot of the fixes to things where they had to buy materials, lumber, different things that they had to buy, like to do Boardroom over here, the board supervisor's office over here, the fourth floor stairwell, all the painting and plaster repair work that they did, and some other things like I've increased the electrical power on there. The water and sewer is higher than usual with new systems. So we're kind of in that phase of not knowing with having another addition onto this building where all these costs are falling in it. It's kind of coming out here is where some of those costs are falling into play here. The Department 51 that has the 51-96, that's the amount that we pay for Nyakog Transit. And I had that on 2 different line items. At one time we changed the code and I had it as an expense on 2 different line items. So this is wiping out the line item that we no longer use. That helps the budget as well. The next 3 line items, well, let's just start with the first one there, the 429-51. We had budgeted 40,000 in that line item. And what I did is I put 70,000 in there for an amendment, because way back in January of last year, we all talked about the Ehlers and Cooney cost for the pipeline might be around that $100,000 mark. And then we've also, you talked about doing we've got $5,000 for the wind, for NICOG to do the wind ordinance and 5,000 for the solar ordinance down in the future. And so I just put that, so it's 110,000. That's not all gonna get spent this year, but we'll have a better marker of where, because I know the solar is not gonna get done this year. So since all this isn't gonna get done this year, we'll probably shortly after the new fiscal year, we'll have to amend to use the rest of our ARPA dollars. This is kind of a place card on where that money might go to. Although I encourage that we get, wherever we need to spend it, we just get it all spent and as soon as we can. I know we have to have it obligated by December of 2024. We should have everything spent by 2024. And I think I would think it would be a good idea to spend it as soon as we can get it spent, because there has been talk about if you haven't spent the money that they could claw it back, and we don't want to claw it back if it's not obligated. So if we, somewhere we're going to have to pay stuff out of general fund otherwise instead of ARPA funds. The 380,000 is one of those line items that I had just that place card of not knowing where we're going to spend money, so I put it there. And so that one is decreasing, and then it's allocated in other line items, such as what we just talked about with Ehlers and Cooney and NIACOG, and the next couple 4 line items, 5 line items. The 821 is what we spent for Mills to do the Mid-American Energy wiring stuff for the generator for public health. The 17,645 was also generator related. The rest of the payment to Perry Novak. And then in the capital projects, that 74,998 is another where I put just not sure what we were going to spend. Primarily what's paid out of that, it was like Samuel Street, or excuse me, to Prohaska. So my thoughts are we paid $597 to Prohaska, and if we just don't pay anything more to them out of Prohaska, we have 200 out of ARPA, I should say, we have 200 and some $1,000 in general fund for project expense that was budgeted a year ago. So just so we can have nice clean numbers where we know where we're going to land with all this, I would say any future payments to Prohaska, they'll probably be one of the last ones I'll make any payments to whenever the project is completed. And And by that time, ARPA dollars will be spent, we use the general fund for that. The 7,510 was for and in the stairwells, and that just zeroes out that line item. And then the 700,000 is what we had originally budgeted to pay Samuel's group. And again, just netting out that 380,000 and the $74,000, 214,468 for the budget amendment is what the last that we would pay for Samuel's group out of this. And then 20,000, or yeah, the next line item is Jacob's. I guess I didn't put anything in there. That's the project that he had mentioned he has to amend his budget for this year. I don't remember if that's the Floyd project or a bridge project or road project. I need to follow up with him on that. And also, that's the last thing I sent him an email yesterday. If there's I thought there was gonna be a revenue that would offset that, and if there is, I put that revenue in as well. But, I don't remember which project we talked about. That was for.
I believe that bridge project on Victory is done. The bridge is open and being used.
Okay, so that might be that he needs to pay for it from here and then he'd get
Yeah, I'm not sure.
federal or state.
Grant funds or something.
Yeah, I thought there was an
He was,
offset.
yeah.
So I tried calling him, I sent him an email yesterday and called him this morning, but didn't catch him, but that's the only thing that might change from what my presentation goes out today, unless you have anything else you want me to look at. I will just give you a rundown. The next page in your packet looks like this. And this just gives you a rundown of where we're at. The first box is where we're at in fiscal year 24 for ARPA dollars. So it's some of those were adjustments in here. Some of them were already budgeted, but anything where you see in the amendment column should line up with what you just looked at on this page. So just so you know where we're at there. And then the bottom part, the ARPA summary, that's where you can see where we had our original $3,038,275, and I'm adding back in for the budget amendment the 1,251 for the Anderson Cooney. So we have that will be a revenue in that budget again, just to zero things out when we're all done with this. And then to show you what we paid in expenses, 109,875.89 in fiscal year 22, and over 1.6 million in fiscal year 23. And then with this budget amendment, it puts us at a little over $1.3 million and matches our revenues and our expenses. The top right column just gives you an idea of what we would need to pay. Oh, you answered my question.
That's what I was coming down.
Yeah, thank you. So with Samuel's group, if you recall, the last pay app, we paid 90% of the pay app. And because project wasn't finished, and I didn't want them to be hanging on to our money when a project isn't finished, because I felt like we didn't have any leverage with getting anything done. So we've got 80,000, this is the number right here, $80,614. That's the 10% of that project, or that pay app that we haven't paid. And then I threw in this PCO 153, just as a place card. We're not gonna act on that today, so it's still would just be a net of the project, how we really spend the money. And then I estimate that for Haskell, we might have $5,000 left to spend then. And so what potentially could come out of the general fund would be that $42,000 number. And my hope is that wraps the project up. So all those numbers correlate to this. And then I've got an explanation on the bottom there what the money was used for. And so the only thing is, Jacob, is there revenue we need to put in here?
No,
Okay.
so that's for the Floyd Co Avenue project, because that was budgeted for last fiscal year, and then didn't happen, so then I didn't have it budgeted for 2 years, basically, I only had it in 1 year. So that's why. And with that project, you know, it's just kind of getting rolling here the last couple of weeks. I assume we can get it all done this fiscal year, but all that expense might not happen this fiscal year, because if they go, you know, they might go a week into July or something, if it shouldn't, but in case, you know, something goes haywire and it's not done by then, it might end up a little bit into the next fiscal year.
Yeah, so then we'd be, just like we talked about with the ARPA dollars, we've got the money budgeted here if we need it this year, but until we could, if it doesn't get spent in this fiscal year, if we need to amend early next year.
In the fall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make those final payments.
Yeah, so that might happen, I don't know, I anticipate it should be done, but can't really promise anything, and with the way the weather has been, I don't know how it will go.
Yeah.
So our budget amendment hearing is on Wednesday, 29th.
Yep, that's at the top of the page, 9:15 a.m.
All right, well, thank you for all the detail involved in that. It's a lot of work.
I think it's good to go. You got it.
All right.
Good deal.
Next item is future agenda items.
I've none.
I have, this is not necessarily an agenda item. When is the moratorium end on the
That will be an agenda item because it ends the 20th
20th? Okay.
of May, so we'll need to put that on our agenda to extend that. That's right, very good. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion by Peter, seconded by Jorgensen to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.
7 minutes.
Whoa, that's like record, guys.
That's a record, isn't it?